Okay. So let me know if anyone is facing to view my screen. So the what is required to develop an iOS application for iOS mobile app. If you talk about basic requirements for an iOS application development, so basic requirements for an iOS application, we should know any programming language, either it is C, then it is plus. If you have a knowledge with any other programming language like Java or any other languages, and that it will be adding an advantage. The C language is the one you should have an idea of the basic C. The C language basics are required. Basic programming, we should have a hands-on C basic programming, and we should have a capability to create a logic or implementing our own logics, programming logic and own implementations. We should have hands-on, and in order to develop an iOS application, there are certain tools which Apple suggested because these iOS and iPhone and iPad all are owned by the Apple. So Apple has suggested some certain tools through which we can learn iOS app development. So the tool is Xcode. So here the basic requirements on programming language, if you have a C, that is fine. So the language we're going to use Objective-C or Swift or both. We can use these languages to create an app, and we'll have an object-oriented concepts features. We use the tool Xcode. So Xcode is one of the application which is developed for Mac operating system. We use this tool to develop any iOS or Mac OS application, and we'll use this tool to test the application, and we'll use this tool to deploy the application to iPhone devices or iPad devices, or the deploy application to App Store. So this is only the one tool, so we can discuss more. So the basic requirements is one tool Xcode and one programming language, either Objective-C or Swift or both. And another tools is like iPhone simulator and instruments. These are the different applications which inbuilt comes with your Xcode. So these are the basic things we should know to develop any of the iOS application. So the procedure is different. So in order to download an Xcode, what is required? First, we have to create an Apple ID. It's like your Gmail. So you can create an Apple ID from apple.developer.com website. You have to enroll. It's a free account. So once you create that, for development there are certain restrictions are there. The restrictions is like if you would like to distribute an app to App Store, there are certain procedure. If you would like to distribute your application to your device, like if you want to test your mobile application into your mobile devices, there is certain procedure which costs $99. So you have to pay $99 to Apple, so that the Apple give you access to create certain certificates through which you can sign the app to test in devices and to upload your store. So that comes with your distribution procedure. Enrolling and creating the development certificates, later you can distribute. This is the procedure. The mobile app sectors, right now we can see the most apps, how the web is developed, the similar way every web application is coming to the mobile. Because the user growth is more for the mobile, so the mobile development is more. So the C language, coming to the C language, so we can discuss in detail about all these concepts, either distribution or the procedure for creating an app and all in coming classes. The basic thing required is Xcode, that is the tool. The C language, we have to learn all the C basics like creation of the declarations for identifiers and use of the identifiers and keywords uses and why we use data types or variables or constants or arithmetic operators or other operators and the controlling the statements and the creation of statements, functions, the other user defined data types or storage classes and the collections like structures, arrays or unions and other programs is like file system and threading mechanisms. If you have this is basic the usage of C language we should know, and we have to understand how C language get compiled or how we debug any program in C language. So we'll use the same methodology here like compiling and debugging and other things. And Objective-C is the other language we use to develop the applications for iPhone within Objective-C language. This is the new one which is designed by the Apple. And we can use the Swift. There is another latest language, but as of now in the market all apps are developing. Mostly 90% of the applications are built with Objective-C. Most probably in a year or in a later we can use the Swift language. But as of now these classes I will explain you the Objective-C and Xcode and iOS SDK and Swift, the basic declarations and basic syntax for Swift language as well. The iOS concepts wise, so for development of an iOS application we need a programming language, that is we'll go with Objective-C. And there is a tool called Xcode we'll use for development and testing and distribution, and we'll use iOS SDK. So the SDK is a software development kit which contains a set of classes and packages which are defined for specific behavior. Either it might be related to designing the screens or it might be related to any external functionalities like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, or downloading information from servers or representation of maps or navigations. So any kind of behavior if you would like to add on your iOS app, we should follow the SDK. These SDK guidelines are very strict and we have to follow the Apple guidelines. When we build any of the application we should follow the Apple guidelines. The basic we'll use iOS SDK for iOS related functionalities, the app related functionalities. So we'll explain the iOS app samples and examples, the sample projects and app testing, and we'll explain distribution to store, how to distribute an application to the App Store which can be accessed by all the iOS users across the globe, and how to deploy an application to your own devices when you do ad hoc testing or internal testing before it releases to public from the App Store server. So this I will explain each and everything, and will explain you the interview questions and will tell you the what kind of interview questions and the answers for it, and will give you an sample project at the end of the session, so that you have to develop a sample project by having all the concepts in the mind. So these are the basic requirements and the basic flow which we're going to explain. So the C language, you have to prepare yourself the C language before we start an Objective-C. It's better to prepare a C language before we start an Objective-C classes. So I will explain you the complete Objective-C and iOS SDKs and Xcode uses, and to develop a mobile application, to build a mobile app. What are the basic things are required? And if you see the iOS devices, it starts from iPhone 2G, later it moved to 3G and released 3GS. After that, Apple is released iPhone 4 and iPhone 5. Now it's with iPhone 6. Every release they made some enhancements either the functionality wise or the visual wise. So they enhanced the graphical interface from 1 pixel to 3 times. They made the present graphical representation is 3 times for iPhone 2G, and it's like 1 time for iPhone 4 and 4S and 5. So these are the sizes in points. So as of now, all the applications which supports the iOS SDK, right now we have different various SDKs. Currently we have 9 SDK. We started from 2.0 for the 2G. So this is the basic dimension of your iPhone 2G, 3G or 3GS devices. This is the pixel dimension for your iPhone 4. This is your iPhone 5. These are the points dimension. We'll use this pixel dimension for creating the graphics. We'll use this points dimension to define the graphical elements on any of the pages. If you look at any of your mobile application, we can see the different graphic dimension designs. The sizes of the buttons or sizes of the images or sizes of the pages will define the different mobiles having different sizes. If it is 5S, we can see 325, 68, and iPhone 6 we can see the points, and iPhone 6 in the zoom we have a different size, and iPhone 6 Plus we have a different size. So these are the various changes in dimension wise from the Apple from the beginning to current. So the basic requirement, what are the concepts we're going to cover in the basic requirements. We go with Objective-C. For these sessions we're going to learn Objective-C, and we will learn Swift language. These two are the languages. These two I will teach these two, and you should have a knowledge either C or any other programming. This is required. These two will be taught. And I will teach Xcode. This is an IDE, so where you can do development and debug and deploy. So the iOS application development, if you talk about OS level, Mac OS, the Mac OS is required. System requirements, so it's related to your OS requirements. The Mac OS is mandatory. Either it can be MacBook or any other vendor based device, but we should have a Mac OS to develop iOS apps. So these are the programming languages. The C or any other is basic, the basic requirement, and this I will explain the Objective-C and Swift. This Xcode is an IDE, so this is one of the Mac application. This app we have to download for macOS. And for iOS app development, we use iOS SDK. For iOS app development, this will be explained. So these all will be explained and teached. This is the system requirement. These are like your programming languages. Let's see how to download an Xcode. The installation procedure for Xcode. If the system is Mac OS, if the system is having a Mac OS, Mac operating system, so the procedure, first, as I said, we have to enroll one Apple account. From developer.apple.com, we have to download one. In Mac OS, we can see the Mac Store app. If you can look at here, this is our App Store application. This can be, we can see this Mac App Store application in your iPhones or else in Mac OS. So go to the App Store app from Mac OS. So open an App Store application. Search for Xcode. This is my App Store app. You can search for Xcode. Now we can see one application with this icon. The icon representation for Xcode is this. This is the Xcode. If the Xcode is not existed in your Mac OS, you can see get. If it is already existed and installed, then you can see the label as update. If it is not installed, then click on the get and you can see a button install app. If you click on install app, you can download any app. So this is like a simple procedure. You have to download the Xcode app. So when you install any of your application, it will ask your Apple credentials, so which you registered. So this is I downloaded because as I'm already having, so you can see that I might have, this is my, so this is the way, this is the one of the, this is the way of one application download from Xcode. So sorry, one app development from download from App Store. So similarly, you can download one Xcode application. So this Xcode is comes with different tools. So if it is not, if you have not registered your credentials, then it will ask you credentials. You have to enter your Apple ID and password, then do a sign in. So later you can download the app. So once the download was done, then it will start. Once you click on sign in, then if you click on install button, the installation will get started. So once the Xcode is got installed in your device or in your Mac OS, So there are the scenarios. We have two other apps which comes with your export. One is iOS simulator. So the simulator is to test your iPhone application from your Mac OS. We can develop a iOS application from your Mac OS. We can test a iOS application from your Mac OS with iPhone simulator app. These applications, either iPhone simulator or instruments, these apps are comes with export inbuilt. So I already downloaded export. So this is my export. So I can open the export. So this is the way of opening your export. So here you can see the version of an export. Here we can see the different options. We can create, there are different options for creating a playground or creating a project, or you can, this is like export features. This is a normal export. You can see once you open the export, you can see that if once it is downloaded. So these are the, as I said, the images resources. You should have 1x, 2x and 3x from the graphic designer if you would like to present any of the image on your iOS app. So Xcode is a Mac application which will be used to develop and debug distribute the application to App Store or devices. The Xcode, will call it as like IDE. It's an integrated development environment where you can do all these operations. The Xcode will be used to configure the cloud and support SVN and Git. So the same Xcode we can use to download other projects from different servers. Either it can be Git server or it can be the local server from the organization. So the Xcode will be used with the help of these servers. The one application can be coded from more than one person. So it is an integrated environment. So the source code which is developed by the more than one people, we can integrate with the help of these repositories. So these repositories can be configured in your Xcode. So there are the four steps we can do. The configuring of repository to download or upload a project which is created an Xcode. The Xcode will have a different templates. So before that, this is my export. What kind of operations I can do? I can create a playground, I can create a project, or else I can configure any of the repository. Either it can be Git repository or it can be the local SVN. So which stores all the projects related to one organization. The playground is the option which will be used to test any of the source. If you had written one logic, you would like to know what will be the output or what are the inputs you need to support, that we can test a small snippets from playground. It's like an interpreted application which you can create from Xcode for testing the any snippet. So this is an Xcode project creation. The second option is Xcode project creation. You can build one project to run in iPhone, iPad or Mac applications. The same Xcode will be used to develop apps for iOS or develop an apps for macOS. The third option is available to configure repositories. Let's go with the Xcode project creation. So these are the previous projects which opened in Xcode. I clicked on create new project in Xcode. So now we can see the whatever the app is open. So we can see that running application tabs on your tab bar. So as I said earlier, Xcode can be used to develop apps for iOS or watchOS, Apple Watches or Mac OS or other. So our target is for iOS. I selected an iOS. So this iOS is having a different sections, applications and frameworks and libraries. Now we want to develop one application for iOS. So select an application. Now we can see the different templates. The Xcode is an IDE. So the Apple is giving some certain predefined structure to configure one project. So what are the basic configuration is required to launch an application? It is provided with templates. So we might have seen various apps on your devices which looks like a split design, something like this. You can see some apps with our page based. You can see that scrolling pages. Such kind of applications you can create with the help of this template project creation. There are some apps which we can see with single view application. These are the different predefined templates. If you would like to develop a game application, we can select this game template. It creates one game project. So mostly we use single view applications for project creations. So these all these behaviors or all these kind of designs can be developed with the help of single view application. As we are the beginners, to understand well, the Apple is given the different templates. Directly it give you this kind of design by default. So if you want to make all these designs, let's have a look for one application. If it is a WhatsApp, we can see the initial page is single page where you have to enter one number. So that is having only single page. So once you enter the details, it navigates to another page. The page will have different tabs on the bottom. So that is a design of a tab design. So the WhatsApp is never used to only one template, and they configure all kinds of designs into the same template. But for the beginner, you can select any of the template to present the design as with respect to that template. So our choice is single view application. So we'll use this single view template to make all these design. So this is the option for creating a frameworks and libraries. So every language it's having its own linking libraries, and also we can create our user defined libraries or frameworks. Single view application, let's create. So this is the option where you have to enter your project name. This is the organization for which you are developing this application. So my app name, product name is demo1. The organization name is test. So what will be the organizer identifier? You can give some identifier name. So you can see this product name is followed by the organization name as an identifier for this project. You have to select one language to develop this application. Either iOS apps can be developed with Objective-C or else with Swift, as I said earlier. So you can create an iOS app with Objective-C. So once you create this application, you have to target this app for certain devices. Either you would like to target this application to run on all the devices of iOS. Either it can be iPad or iPhone. So you can choose on universal. Or if you would like to make this application to run only iPhone, then you have to select iPhone. If it is only iPad, you have to select an iPad. So the devices option you have to provide when you create your product. So then these are the different features of for an application. If you would like to add an unit test, you have to check this. If you would like to add any some core database or some data structure, you have to use it. We can discuss more in detail for these features in later classes. You have to fill all these basic details to go for next. Click on next. It will ask you the storage location at your system. Let's create one. So either you can keep this application in any Git repository. It's a default configured for macOS from the Xcode. If you check it, it will create one folder in your Git server. So I want to save this application in my device, so I unchecked it. Let's create. One folder has been created in that specific location of your device. So now I selected one template. So the template means it has some predefined code. the apple is generated, the Xcode is generated, this template. So single view template. As I said, the Xcode will be used to create an application. So we created. The second step, you have to develop an application. So it's generated, it's developed some certain classes and generated. So now our third step is to run the application. So we can run the application. So this Xcode tool will give you all the buttons to control, or it provides you all the ways of access to develop an application and to test. Here these are the buttons to close and minimize or maximize the app. This is the button to run an application. So if you click this, it will get executed. So every time it is difficult to test an application for your iPhone devices, because sometimes we might have an iPhone, we may not have an iPhone. So if you want to test an application, there is one app, it is called iPhone Simulator. Its inbuilt comes with your Xcode. Here you can see your project name. This is your, you can select a device if it is connected, or else you can select any of the simulator. So either simulator is related to iPhone 5 or related to 5s or 6 or 6 plus. You have to select one device. So we created as a universal application so that you can see all the simulators. I selected iPhone 6. So if I run this application, this app will open in iPhone 6, and the view which represents on this iPhone 6 simulator, that is the way of appearance if you run the same application in your iPhone 6 device. So now here you can see this is the status bar area. So where you can see your project name and the state of the application and date and time. And if it is having any errors and warnings also, you can see it here. So now I want to run this app, just click on this run button. Now you can see that it's building, means it's compiling assets and everything. It will mention you what class is compiling. Now it is running demo 1, its project on iPhone 6, because I selected iPhone 6. Here I can see iPhone 6. So now the iPhone simulator application is running in the background. Now we can see that this is iPhone 6 simulator. So we run the application, we can able to see one white page with a status bar. So this is your date of your iPhone simulator. You can see the same date in your device. This is the battery. It's like this view representation is similar to your device, because as we are not having a device, so we can test an application from your Mac OS with the help of iPhone simulator. So if you want to stop this application which is running, so you can click on stop button, it will be finished. So now it is stopped. So finished running demo 1 on iPhone 6. If it is running, the status you can see running. If it is finished, you can see the finished. If you got any error, then it will give you that error. This is a basic way of usage of to create a project, and how to run it, how to stop it, what are the various areas we can identify when you run an application status, where you can see, where you can select different simulators. This here you can see your application name. These are the auto generated files. If you would like to add a new files, you have to add in the same folder. So this folder structure has been auto generated. This is your working area where you can type the code. This area can be utilized to develop the functionalities. There are the three sections the Xcode is having. This is your the top bar area, so where you can find all the elements, different buttons. The second layer is your navigation area. You can represent the files in folder structure, or you can see in a hierarchical structure of the classes. You can search for any text from your project. If your project is having, if your application is having any errors or warnings, you can, there is no issues. So if there is any issues, the issues will be pointed and presented here. and this is like your number of tests. You can add the different targets. I can tell you that what is target in later sessions. You can see the debug sessions. If you debug any information, you can see that if it is on the debug mode. These are the certain breakpoints. If you create any breakpoint in your application, so the breakpoint is nothing but stopping the flow of execution. So if you see run in C language, you can debug one C language application from your Turbo C by running by pressing F7 line by line execution. Here also we can look at line by line execution by keeping a breakpoint. If you click, so you will get this is like breakpoint. If you run the application, when you're after building the app, so when it is launched, when it is ready to launch or when it is launched, while it is running in the iPhone or iPad, if your interpreter comes to the specific point, your interpreter will be stopped here. So you are keeping one debug point, so it will be stopped. You can start executing those statements line by line. You can check. So this is like different. You can see that all the debug points across the project in this section, in this panel. So you can select and you can delete by pressing delete button. All the debug points will get deleted. Either you can enable, these are the enabled. If you would like to disable also, you can disable. If you tap on the same, you will get disabled. These are the history of execution of your this project. If this product is executed in different times, so at 10:08 we debugged and we build at 10:08, so we did it twice, so it's giving the timings. So the history of execution of this app you can get it here. If you would like to search for some file, you can enter the name of the file. You can able to search whether is it exited or not. So I would like to search for the app. So this string will be searched. Whenever it is found, it will filter those files. So this is the working area. So once you run here, you can find some quick help for of the every class. You can select one name, so you will get some information. It's like quick help. You can get in the help area. So this is one other area. These are the, you can either open or you can close the help. So either you can close and open the navigator, project navigator. There is another button, it's like at the bottom. Here this is where you can see your output, resultant output. So if you develop some one app, if you would like to print some console information, so all the debugging information and output will be presented here. All the graphical representation element will be presented on simulator. Graphical elements will be presented in simulator. All the console elements like printf, so those kind of information, so you can see it in debug area. This is your debugging area where you can see that information when you debug the application. Or if you print some information with the logs, you can get the tracking in this all output area or debugging area. So this is the section where you can create different files, or it gives you some help. If you forgot something like a declaration or syntax, or if you want to use this help, you can use that. I would like to create one if else statement, so you can drag and drop, it creates that. So these are the basic snippets help you can get from the Xcode. These are the default snippets comes with your Xcode. So any while statement or any of some certain syntaxes, if you forgot, you can use it. So this is the one area is for the graphical elements, the buttons and all. If you select any matching file, it will give you that matching file related files. This is my graphical file. The storyboard is one of the graphical file where you can design the screens or buttons. So here you can, now we can see that because we selected the graphical file. So here we can see the different components. These are all graphical components. This can be used for drag and drop. You would like to create some drag and drop, select this and drop it. You will get that. So this is like your graphical drag and drop area. You can do it. Just drag and drop and run. You can see this graphical element on your simulator. This is your user interface and storyboard where you can design all the graphical elements. Now we can see that this button on your screen. So this is the storyboard where you can do all the drag and drops for the UI design. This is one of the folder. It's called assets. The asset can be image or asset can be any other files. So all the assets will be placed in one area, that is called asset folder. These are the different class files generated to give that specific resultant. These are all auto generated. There is one info.plist file which comes with your project creation. So this info.plist file will have some information, will give you some information related to the project which you created, on which environment it is running, and other information. We will learn this about plist in later sessions. There will be another folder which comes with your project folder, that is supporting files. If there are any supporting files with supporting this application execution, will comes with this. By default, main.m is one of the file. This is the main file where the execution starts for your application. Whenever you run an application, first control comes to your main. So like your C language. In C language, you have a main method. If you execute any of your C application, the first it will come to your main method. Similarly, this is your initial point for your application. So there are the two folders. One is your application folder. The second one is the product folder. The products folder is your resultant formatted app. So your resultant is extension is .app. This is your app. Your end product is this one. So we create a demo one project. It gives one app, demo1.app. So this app can be used to distribute to your devices, iPhones, or to distribute on your simulator. This is your end resultant app. This is the products we have. So this way you can manage. This is debugging open and close. This is quick help open and close. Information tool. This is your navigation tool open and close. We can learn these buttons in later these sessions. Here these are the navigation tools. If you select, you can navigate for any file directly. This is the project. It will get represented. So this is the way you can see all your navigation. So this is the way your Xcode GUI presents, and how to run one application, how to create a normal first project or a product from Xcode, how to run one product. So if you don't have a device, how to test the product with the help of simulator, and selecting what kind of the simulator. Simulator represents your device. If it is iPhone 6, the representation is related to your iPhone 6 device. If it is iPhone 5, then it represents the flow and execution and support for iPhone 5. So if it is iPad, then this app will run in iPad. It gives you that graphical presentation with the iPad 2 size. The same dimension will be represented. So this is your iPad screen. If you deploy this application to your iPads, you can see this screen. So this is the usage, and this is your initial usage, and the way you can develop, the way you can run an application to testing. And I will tell you that later in the end of the sessions, we will tell you that how to distribute the application to device or a store. So for all these actions, we will take the help of Xcode. If you don't have this app on your Mac OS, then you cannot develop any native iOS application. So there are certain other tools are available, but this is our basic tool which Apple suggested to develop any of the iOS app or macOS app. So since we selected Objective-C, these files are related to, these files are in a structure of Objective-C. These are the basic requirements. So what are needed, what you have to download, which OS you should have to develop an iOS. So for the next session, you should be ready with your Mac OS, and you have to download an export app for your Mac OS. If you have a MacBook, the default have Mac OS, then you have to download an export app. So you will be ready for development. If you don't have a Mac OS, if you have a Windows system, Windows OS. So if you have a Windows OS, then you have to download for the system requirements. If it is Windows OS, then you have to download one software is called VMware. This is one of the application which available from the Google. It's an open source VMware. There is a different organization. They developed one VMware application. You have to download a virtual machine. So inside of this VMware, you can configure Mac OS. So you have to download one Mac OS file so that you have to install in your VMware. So after that, so the Mac OS is installed in VMware. So you have to download and export in the Mac OS, and you have to follow the same installation procedure. This is for your installation. So this installation should be ready by the next class. If you have this installation ready at your systems, then we can develop an application. So how to develop and how to execute and how to create an applications and how can we code in Objective-C or C language features, how can utilize, so that we can learn. So this is the basic requirements, and what are the tools are required. There is only one tool you have to download, export. There you should have a Mac OS and export. Then we can start developing the applications by having a command with Objective-C and iOS SDK. Because we are running this application on simulators and devices, those simulators and devices we have to use iOS SDKs. So this is the basic system requirement, and this is the way of procedure for downloading your export. And you might aware what is the basic requirements technology wise. C or any programming language, if you have some basic knowledge of how the programming language interacting with the operating system, that is required. And how on programming language, with the help of a programming language, we can develop any of the programs or apps. If you have some basic idea in any other language, that will be plus. So we can have a knowledge with Objective-C in the sessions, and Swift will tell you, we'll learn more about export in every class. So I will give you that description about iOS SDK and what is the best uses with the iOS SDK. This is all about your first session. So you will get one idea what is required for an iOS app development, what we should have to develop an app at your OS. So these are all the apps in your iPhone simulator. The simulator behavior and UI is similar to your device. The functioning also works like your device, real device. But since it is a simulator, there are certain functional differences for there. You cannot test in simulator all the devices, all the services. Some services you have to run only from the device. Some services you can run from the simulator.
Hello.